The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Kayla strode through the crystalline doors. Her boots echoed against the polished floor, each step measured and deliberate. The armor she wore was scarred and dented, a patchwork of human steel and salvaged alien alloys that had seen more battles than most species witnessed in their entire history. Ambassador Thexul of the Crithian Dominion raised 3 of his optical stalks in surprise. The human comes armed to a diplomatic summit? Kayla adjusted her shoulder pauldron, the servo motors whirring softly. As she did, a small furry head emerged from behind her neck, large amber eyes blinking in the bright chamber lights. The cub chittered nervously, tiny clawed hands gripping the collar of Kayla's armor. "I come as I am," Kayla replied, her voice calm but carrying an edge that made several delegates shift uncomfortably. "And I am never unarmed." The cub, Rin as Kayla had named her, pressed closer against the human's neck, seeking warmth and comfort. The little Valkorian was barely 3 months old, her species supposedly extinct after the Crithian cleansing of the Outer Rim territories. That creature, Thexul's voice dropped to a hiss, should not exist. And yet she does. Kayla's hand moved slowly, carefully, to stroke Rin's head with a gentleness that seemed impossible from someone wearing battle armor. Funny how life finds a way even when empires try to snuff it out. The chamber erupted in multiple languages, clicks, hums, and resonant tones overlapping in chaos. The Confederated Council had never been united, but the presence of both a human and a Valkorian survivor in their hall was testing the already fragile peace. Humans were relative newcomers to the galactic stage, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 2 centuries prior. In that time, they had earned a reputation that made even the most warlike species cautious. Humans didn't have the strongest ships, the most advanced weapons, or the longest lifespans. What they had was something the galaxy had never quite encountered before, an absolutely unhinged willingness to die for things that didn't benefit them at all. Kayla had proven this 3 months ago at the Battle of Velcor. Prime the Crithian fleet had been completing their orbital bombardment when Kayla's frigate, the Defiant Mercy, had jumped into the system. 1 human ship against 47 Crithian dreadnoughts. The logical response would have been to retreat, to report the genocide and let the Council debate sanctions for another decade. Kayla had never been particularly logical. She'd broadcast a single message: leave, or I'll make you regret every ancestor who contributed to your genetic code. The Crithians had laughed. Then Kayla had detonated a series of fusion mines that she'd been smuggling across her ship's hull, turning the Defiant Mercy into a massive fragmentation bomb in the middle of their formation. She'd evacuated via escape pod, but not before downloading her ship's AI into her armor systems and setting a course for the largest Crithian vessel. The explosion had crippled 19 ships and caused enough chaos for the surviving Valkorians to scatter into the asteroid fields. Kayla had crashed onto the planet's surface, survived against probabilities that made mathematicians weep, and spent 2 weeks hunting through ruins looking for survivors. She'd found Rin in the rubble of a nursery, mewling weakly, alone. "You destroyed Council property," Thexul continued, gesturing with his primary manipulators. "That fleet was sanctioned for territorial defense. You murdered children." Kayla's words were soft, but they cut through the chamber like a blade. Rin chirped and nuzzled against her neck, sensing the tension in the human's body. "Tell me, Ambassador, what's the Crithian word for that? I'm sure it translates better than territorial defense." The Valkorians were harboring insurgents. The Valkorians were poets and musicians. Kayla took a step forward. Several delegates' security teams tensed. They didn't have a military. They had artists and families and dreams. You erased them because they wouldn't surrender their system's resources. Galactic law permits nothing. Kayla's eyes blazed. "You all sit here in your comfortable chambers writing treaties and drawing borders, and you forget that every line on your maps is drawn through someone's home, through someone's life." Rin peeked out further, her large eyes scanning the assembled delegates with innocent curiosity. Several of them looked away, unable to meet the gaze of the cub they had condemned to extinction through bureaucratic indifference. "Humans," the eldest speaker finally rumbled, her ancient voice resonating through translation matrices. "You perplex us. You fight for species you've never met. You die for causes that don't benefit your world. Why?" Kayla adjusted her armor again, checking the environmental seals. Rin chittered happily, mistaking the gesture for playtime. The human smiled, a small, sad expression that carried the weight of her species' bloody history. Because we know what it's like to be on the edge of extinction, Kayla said quietly. We've genocided ourselves so many times that we've lost count. We've burned our own world and nearly destroyed our own species through hatred, greed, and indifference. We've been the monsters. She paused, letting her words sink in. So when we finally made it to the stars and found we weren't alone, we made a choice. We decided that maybe, just maybe, we could be better out here than we were back home. We could save the species we couldn't save on Earth. We could stand between the victims and the bullies. Even if it costs us everything, Rin climbed higher, perching on Kayla's shoulder now, tail swishing with growing confidence. The cub looked at the assembled galactic powers and made a small, defiant squeak. Kayla laughed, a genuine sound of joy that seemed out of place in the solemn chamber. She agrees with me, the human said, reaching up to gently scratch Rin's chin. And before you ask, yes, I'll do it again. Every time. For every species. Because that's what humans do. We see injustice and we can't not respond. It's a flaw, maybe. But it's our flaw, and we've decided to make it everyone else's problem. The eldest speaker was silent for a long moment. Then, incredibly, she made a sound that the translation matrix interpreted as laughter. Perhaps, the ancient being said, the galaxy needed humans after all, to remind us that laws without compassion are just elaborate justifications for cruelty. Thexel started to protest, but the eldest speaker silenced him with a gesture. The council will investigate the Velcor incident, she declared, and humanity's unconventional methods of peacekeeping will be discussed. But for now, Ambassador Kayla, you and your small friend are welcome here. Kayla nodded, adjusting her armor one final time. Rin's head peeked out from behind her neck again, amber eyes bright with trust and hope. As they left the chamber, a new precedent had been set. The galaxy had been reminded that sometimes the most powerful weapon wasn't a dreadnought or a planet killer. Sometimes it was just one stubborn human who refused to look away.